Friday Night Bible Study!
Woo! We are back on live. It has been such a fun week with all the Glory and Power meetings.
Yes.
It's so fun having you join us online. Just saying, we have church merch. You can get this hoodie on our website. Welcome. You can get this on our website and church t-shirts, loveofgodfamilychurch.com, and get some church merch. It's always just kind of fun to know that if you want to join in on that fun. Let's just dig right in.
Well, first I want to say hi to Elizabeth in Massachusetts. I want to say hi to Patty in the Twin Cities. Shayna in Garfield. Janet right here in Elbow Lake. Yeah, welcome you guys.
Yes,
so
you guys are
fun.
just awesome.
Love it.
Just
You
always
guys
being
are-
on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This has been an amazing week.
It has been.
Just think how much word we've gotten this week.
Oh, yeah.
And
It's
powerful
been so
word.
good.
Powerful. Hey, Tracy's on from Fergus Falls. Yes.
I'm just getting everybody's phone on here.
So cool. You know, we were telling Brad on the last night that Kevin from Ireland was watching.
Mm-hmm.
Pastor John Javed from Pakistan was watching, and Elizabeth from Massachusetts, Patty from the Twin Cities. I mean, there was a lot of people watching, plus all the people, so many people in our church. Yeah, so awesome.
So
Hey,
awesome.
Justin's on.
Hey.
Love it. Love it. So let's open to Philippians 2, and we're going to start. Pastor Brad, Reverend Brad, he had been, the last night, he was talking about humility.
Amazing.
It was so good.
It was so good.
And a main component of humility and how he showed that version of humility was just so amazing. And one of the main components of humility is loving others. You have to be humble and humble yourself to love others and to think of them first. So the verse that he shared was so good, but a couple verses before that, it talks exactly about that. So let's start in verse 2.
4-2?
Actually, we're going to start in verse 3.
We're in 2.
Oh, 2-2.
Philippians 2.
Philippians 2, and we're going to start in verse 3, and I'm going to read it out of the Amplified Classic. Do nothing from fractional motives, through contentiousness, strife, selfishness, or for unworthy ends, or prompted by conceit. And conceit is wise in your own eyes, like puffing yourself up,
Yeah.
putting yourself as important, and empty importance, arrogance, empty arrogance. Instead, in the true spirit of humility, lowliness of mind, let each regard the others as better than and superior to himself, thinking more highly of one another than you do for yourself. So we read this verse and we always think, oh, so if somebody's hurting or somebody's on the side of the road, we have to think of them first. But it goes deeper than that. It goes a lot deeper than that. When you are greeting somebody, are you thinking about them first? Mom had shared a video and it was just so amazing. And they were talking about popular people. And they took all these kids from all these schools and they studied the popular ones. Why are they popular? Was it because of their charisma? Was it because of their success? Was it because of their athletic abilities? It wasn't. One of the main components was they made you feel like you impressed them. And they also had a long list of people they liked. Their list of their liked people that they liked was huge. They'd be walking through the halls, calling people by name, waving, and they even called it, and I love this, aggressive likingness. They liked people aggressively. And a lot of times, we can, as a society, like people passively, where we wait for them to come to us instead of us being the first ones. I've even had people, not anybody we know, but I've had people come up and say, oh, you never gave me a hug. And then I went to them, well, you never gave me a hug. Sometimes, somebody's got to initiate first. And that's a lot of times how relationships can die too, is because nobody wants to initiate first. But everything with God is sowing and reaping. When he says, come to me, that's us initiating first. He always has an open door that I'm here. I give you opportunity and now come to me. But we have to be that way with other people also. And then I told this at gaming party, and it was so good. We were teaching on The Forge, the movie. If you've never seen that, you need to see it. It is so amazing. So one of the main things that he said was we need to be a fountain and not a drain. A drain is where you suck the life out of people. Some people are life suckers and some people are batteries where they charge you up. As Christians, we should always be the ones charging people up.
Because our batteries should automatically be charged up because we're hooked up to.
That's good.
We're hooked up to Christ Jesus.
The
We are
power
what
source.
flows in Him flows in us.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so we should always have that overflow. One thing was when we did the worship for Glory and Power, and we endeavored that. We talked about this before. We prayed about Glory and Power. We prayed every night, 45 minutes or more. And we endeavored that when we went, we were not going because we needed something.
Right.
We came full. We came full so that we could impart, we could be friendly, we could be, the ones that are giving, just giving. And because of that, our whole experience was amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. This is the first time, I think, in all these years that we've been doing this, that we went out to lunch with some people from the church there. And it was just wonderful. But you know what we purposed when we went out for lunch? We purposed that we were not going to do all the talking. We weren't going to talk about ourselves. We were going to talk about everybody else. We wanted to encourage them, lift them up, be excited for them, impart into them. That's why we went. Imagine if Christians, every place they went, that was their purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was their goal. They say, Mother Teresa used to say, leave people better than before, than you found them. Leave them better. And so because of that,
powerful.
we had, I'm sure I'm, talking for these guys too, I had the most incredible time.
Yeah.
I learned so much. I mean, I went so much deeper than just the weather. Hi, how are you? Or just that surface thing. It went so much deeper and it was easy.
Yeah. And we can
easy.
even take that to the extreme that, I'm not going to do all the talking, so I'm just going to sit there.
Yeah.
No. You have to actively be in conversation, which means we were asking them questions about, maybe they brought up a topic. They call this threading. So if there's like a conversation, there'll be like a thread on that. And then you follow that. And you
That's
keep
awesome.
calling that
Yep.
until you find out everything about that.
Yep.
And at one point, I never realized how responsive we are when people talk to us. That one of the people there, she's like, oh my gosh, I just love you guys. You guys are so fun because you go, wow, when people say things.
Genuinely. Sincerely.
Because she says it about her life, and I was genuinely like, wow.
We were, what?
Yeah.
Hey.
And the more you do that with people, that's how we should be with God. We can never lose our,
That's
they
right.
call that your wonder, where you're just, wow, all the time. I've known lots of people growing up, and they kind of became that like stinky teenager where nothing was fun. Everything
That's
was boring.
really hard to be around.
Yes, and that can even be like Midwestern where, oh, that's real nice. And when we respond like that, we should be first responders to God. When He just barely nudges, we should be like, yep, I'm here. But we can get even religious with that, where there's a move of God and we're really good responders at church. But what about with people? Do we respond well to them? When God tells us thing, do we just go, oh? I've seen it with kids. They'll be telling somebody a story, and then they'll be like, yeah, I did this, this, and this. And then the other person will go, oh. There's nothing to pull on with that. There's nothing to keep that open. But if you give a response of, oh, wow, you don't even have to understand it, but you can genuinely, just like that first video that Mom had shared, that you make them feel like they impressed you.
Yeah.
We can do that with God. And the more you respond like that, the more God will give you.
Yeah.
And the more people will give you. You'll become a very attractive person that way.
Yeah. And one of the things is we need to become highly skilled in genuinely and sincerely listening.
Yeah.
Listening with enthusiasm. Listening with, I really want to know this. There was a married couple amongst us, and so we asked them how they met and just, and oh my gosh, they had just the most amazing story.
Yeah.
And it was so fun to hear that. And then we were with a couple ladies who had both of their husbands had passed away, and one was a tragic accident, and one was from just older age, and it was such a privilege, I just felt honored that we could impart encouragement and lifting up. And it was just, I came away from that lunch filled.
Mm-hmm.
It surprised me how I was so content, I was so satisfied, I was so filled, and I never talked about myself.
Right?
I never talked about myself. I didn't tell any, amazing, I think maybe one thing was asked, and I didn't even care. I genuinely wanted to know about them and just, have them.
We weren't
That is
asking.
almost unheard of.
It is. We weren't asking, just waiting for them to stop talking so we could say our bit. Or, and so I think about, one time this most amazing, nice person came across my path, just in passing, and they walked away, and I thought, that is the nicest person ever.
Yep.
Well, we've all come across people like that. What is it about them that makes us feel so good, and we would just want to be with them again?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so then my thought is, wow, am I like that?
Yeah.
I want to be like that. I want to, if we walk in the room, I want people to be like, oh, wow, or,
And a good way to know, was I listening or was I just talking about myself the whole time?
Yeah.
And you've said this before, when you come away from talking with a person, do you know anything about them?
Yeah, what did you learn?
And look, you said about each person you learned something.
Yeah.
And you remember that and bringing that up.
Yep.
Because, I already know everything about my own life. So me telling it, and when you sacrifice like that and give, you're always more blessed than if you try to just talk about yourself the whole time.
Yeah.
Because every time you try to do that, you come away with, there was something missing.
Yeah.
It's because it was all about you.
Yeah.
But when you turn it towards others, then God can bless you with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Have you ever been asked a question, like, how was your day?
Mm-hmm.
And you answer, and it's like talking to a wall.
Or they walk away.
Yeah, or, okay, they weren't really interested, they just made an effort, whatever.
Yeah. It was like I did my duty, I asked a question,
Or have you ever been asked a question, and you answer it, and they don't care what you said, they just are waiting for them to be able to say their bit? I mean, that's not, can you imagine Jesus being like that?
Right?
See, we think the multitude thronged Jesus and just followed him because of his teaching or because of, they just wanted something from him. Well, here's the deal. He literally liked people.
Yeah.
And, that was Jesus. No, he was a man on this earth. And he went through everything we go through, and people really liked him.
And it's not hard. Because a lot of times we think it's hard because we're like, well, they're not going to like me, and what am I supposed to, and how? That's still all about you. But to be a likable person, it's actually really easy. To be the most interesting person in the room. I had heard this story, and it was just amazing. To be the most interesting person in the world, in the room, you don't have to be the most charismatic. You don't have to be the coolest person. Look at Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
I mean, he's taking his sweater off and putting his sweater on, taking his shoes off, putting his shoes on. We loved him. Why? This is what it is. So there were two guys, and they were going to run to be president. And one of them, this lady got the honor of being able to go to a meal with both of them. So one of them, she came away and she said, wow, I felt like he was the smartest person in the room. So then she went to go out to eat with the second guy running up. And she said when she came away from that meeting, she said, wow, I felt like the smartest person in the room.
Wow!
How you become the most interesting person in the room.
That's
is
it right
making
there.
the other person the most interesting person in the room.
Oh my gosh.
So here, I didn't even know, but I have been just feeding on this kind of stuff, and I love it. About, I love people and they love me, and just thinking about that way all the time, and just trying to love people. And we've been practicing this with kids and stuff. When I'm on the bus, I practice this with kids, asking them questions, and they love it. So here we're at these meetings, and there's these kids there. I don't even notice. anymore. But I'm asking them questions. They live on a dairy farm. I'm asking them all about
Yeah.
cows. What's
Yeah.
their favorite cow? What's their favorite way to eat cow? What's their favorite way to milk a cow? All this kind of stuff, because I'm genuinely,
Yeah, I was very interested.
you're regarding others better than yourself. So I didn't even know I was doing this, but we've been practicing this for so long that then, towards the end, like I was just surrounded by kids, and I loved it. And Kelly from across the room, a lady had said to her, wow, she's really popular with kids. Why? Was it because I'm this amazing person? No. It's because I made them feel amazing. I made them feel like their everyday life was important.
Praise God.
They're even homeschoolers. Oh, go ahead.
We had another, we had bingo once for our kids' church. And there was this really little kid, and so they put each of us, they kind of paired us with kids that were kind of really young, that couldn't maybe run the bingo themselves. So I'm with this little guy, and he's just a cute little guy. And I'm helping him with bingo. And every time he would get a letter, I would just, oh yeah, you got one. That's awesome. People are like, did he get bingo? No, he got a letter. You know, he got one letter. And then when he would get a bingo, I would jump and I was excited for him, and he got excited, and it turned into a party every time.
And
he'd get a
here
letter.
was the key. You didn't do it to get attention to you.
Yeah.
You were genuinely,
I
sincerely
did it
doing it
because I
to
saw it cheered him up.
see.
Yes.
And the Bible says that God rejoices over us with rejoicing. God, when he sees us make, a right choice, or he sees us advance in something or pass a test, he rejoices over it. He makes a big deal about it.
Yes.
And we need to be like him.
We need to be like
Exactly.
him.
We need to be like him and make people feel like they're the most important.
Yeah.
If we go through our lives and it's all about us, we're gonna live our life thoroughly disappointed.
Yeah.
Because that's the secret to life,
Yeah.
is to not living all for ourselves, but to live for other people, because that gives you, that's your kicks.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That makes your day. I love it.
I remember, who was the guy that you said that put on the sweater? What was
Mr.
it?
Rogers.
Mr. Rogers. So he was being interviewed. This was on the movie of him.
Their documentary.
Their
on him.
document, yeah. And Mr. Rogers was being interviewed by this journalist. And the journalist asked him, who is the most important person to you? Who do you really look up to? I mean, who do you just, really like to be with? And just to learn something about Mr. Rogers. And Mr. Rogers said, you know who the most important person to me is right now? And the journalist is ready to write, who? And he goes, you are. You are. And he was sincere. I mean, he was just engaged. It was eye contact. He was all ears. He didn't rush the man. He reiterated what the man would say. He did a conversation back and forth. I mean, it was really something.
Wow.
And it takes practice to do this. When we first started out, I think it was probably when we had Taya at the Y, and we only had the one room. And teenagers are scary. They're scary, man. They're really scary. But I remember, because it was a little bit of a smaller group then. We didn't have like the hundreds of kids that it grew to be. But I remember Mom was like, okay, now if you see kids like by themselves, like when they come in, you need to like talk to them. Because I was the youngest out of all three of us, and she said, specifically you, because you're more their age. And I'm like, people? You want me to talk to people? But once I broke through that, once I finally got over myself, it became the easiest thing.
Yeah.
Now new people could come in, and I'm like, yeah, bring it on.
Yeah.
I remember there was, we had some young people come, and they were so awkward in themselves. And the greatest thing is, you can do this all to yourself. You could pretend, man, people just love me. People just love me because I'm the most lovable person, because I got the love of God in me. And these people were very awkward in themselves. So I thought, okay, you could be awkward. That is fine. That's your response. But my response is, you're not awkward. So I treated them like they weren't awkward at all. I was joking with them, and it kind of broke the ice a little bit. Made me feel more comfortable. But what did I do? I made them feel like the most important person in the room. So when you're talking to people, you should come away with, what did I find out about them? I love learning about new people. And the more you talk about how you love learning about new people, the more you'll love it.
And not just, and I like, that's absolutely true with new people, absolutely true. But we need to be like that with everybody.
Yes.
With everybody. And that is probably the hugest show of being a Christian. That
Yes.
people watch you. They watch you all the time. and we are being, I don't want to say judged like in the wrong way, but just kind of figured out, oh, what kind of person are they? You know, are they kind? Are they thoughtful? Are they, you know, or are they just here for themselves? Are they just, yeah. And that is a huge thing in showing who God is.
Yeah.
And who Jesus is. And what the Word is. And what church is like. What Bible study is like. What, you know, people really sincerely want to know.
Yeah, they do.
And, you know, let's face it, it's easy to take a back seat and let somebody else do it.
Yeah.
It's easy to, you know, but we're missing out.
Yeah.
I'm talking to myself too.
Yeah.
There was one time, and I noticed that John had gone through this same thing where we were looking at love scriptures, and this was different times, but he had brought it up, and I'm like, yo, I went through that same thing. And we were looking through the love scriptures, and the more we kept going through them, God kind of showed me that if it's not sacrifice, it's not love. Because if it's a mutual benefit, or if somebody's like paying for love, that's not love. They call that something else in the world, and it's illegal here in America. That's not love anymore. If you're paying somebody to be your friend, or if they're only friends with you because you do fun stuff, or they're only getting something from you, that's not love.
Yeah.
If it's not sacrifice, it's not love.
Yeah.
We should always live on the edge of, ouch, that sacrifice all the time. And I heard it this way. Have you ever seen a rock tumbler? So they'll take this ugly rock. It'll just be this jaggedy piece of rock, and it's just ugly. And they'll put it in this tumbler. And what this rock tumbler is, Dad had a rock tumbler, is you would take all these jaggedy pieces of rocks, and you'd throw them in this tumbler thing together. And what it would do is it would tumble the rocks, and they would hit against each other. So what is this? Being around people. You know, you hear a lot that, oh, if there just weren't people, life would be so much easier. Well, you're going to be left that jaggedy piece of rock then. You're going to be sharp. Nobody's going to like you. They're going to be like, oh, this is ugly, and throw it out.
Yeah.
But that tumbler, that has to go through multiple processes. It doesn't just stay in the big one. So then we're like, oh, okay, I can talk to people now. Yeah, but you're still kind of rough around the edges. So what's it going to do next? They're going to put you in the next step of the tumbler.
Yeah.
With a little bit finer rocks.
Yeah.
And that's going to get a little bit more up in your business. And it's going to buff out those sharp edges. And then it's going to keep processing until you're finally in with the fine sand. That's going to polish you until you come out this beautiful piece of rock.
Yes.
And I think a lot of times an excuse can be, I mean, I've used this excuse with myself.
Yeah.
I'm shy. That's not my personality or whatever. But, you know, you can be I've met many times as I've done this, asking people about them, you know, talking to people, and my inside's going, I hate this. This is not fun. Why? Because it's effort.
Mm-hmm. So, and I've done this myself. I have, probably recently. I think I told somebody a story about a church that we had visited when we were on vacation. And we went in and nobody said hello to us. Nobody welcomed us. Nobody talked to us. And then we were in the service, and when we left, nobody came up to, nobody said hello. But you know what? Growing past that now, because that was many years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Growing past that, I should not have gone there to see who was going to reach out to me.
Yeah.
Oh.
I should have gone there to reach out to others and to encourage and uplift and let God use me while I was there. See, when we come, of course, we're going to be fed. We're going to be filled up to go out on that mission field. But then when we come in, there is that, okay, Lord, who would you like me to encourage? Who would you like me to, visit with or lift up or listen to? And there's that, I think we've gone so far over here that I'm going to go to the church where I get the most.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to get, are you playing games? Are you having a movie? Are you having food? Are you having... People just church jump. I'm just going to go to the party. I'm just going to go to the activities. Why? Because it's about them. But if we could bring it back here to the middle, we almost have to go this, just to, it's really, this is our practice ground.
Yes.
When we come together as a church family, it is time for us to practice being Him.
Yeah.
Practice reaching out to others and oh, somebody's sitting by themselves, nobody's talking to them, you know, and just being that, and it is a sacrifice.
It is.
It is, and it's humbling.
It's very humbling. I'm
It's
so glad you
very
brought
humbling.
that up. Yes.
Yes.
Because you have to really humble yourself
Yeah.
to be wowed by people. Because it's almost a sacrifice. I remember there was one time I had this little kid on the bus, and he was squirrelier than squirrely could be. But you could kind of tell that he was a little bit of like a loner, and kids didn't really like him because he was pretty rambunctious and he was just a big personality type person. So I remember he was on the bus, and I thought to myself, okay, we're gonna play this game. And he would tell me the crazy stories. He said that, yeah, I could run so fast because I had my new shoes on. They were Nikes. So I could run 30 miles an hour. So you know what I did? I went, wow, that is so fast. And he was shocked by that. Because being a prideful person has to correct. You have to correct and make sure, well, what they said was wrong. There's lots of times that people say stuff, and you know what? It might have come out wrong. But love goes, that's okay. I understand what they meant. This kid doesn't know speed. He probably just meant he was going really fast. So what did I do? I went, wow, that's amazing. And as I kept doing that, he was telling me other stories, and they were just wild and crazy. I just kept going, wow. And then I would say, you are so cool. You are so fast. You know what? You're a really cool kid. And I just kept encouraging him and making him feel like he impressed me. And you know what? That kid, he has grown up and he's become one of the nicest kids. And we've had multiple kids like that, where they're kind of, that you call them kind of like the stinker kid, that you're like, oh, it's that kid. But the more you encourage and love them, I remember Willie George told this story. And he made Gospel Bill. And that was like the cutting edge for kids ministry in the Word of Faith camp. And it was huge. It was the biggest thing. They had all this stuff. But anyways, when he was a kid, he was a naughty kid. Him and his friends, they were like the naughtiest kids in the church. But he said there was one guy, and he said, I will never forget this. There was one guy, and he would always come up to us and say, you know what? You're going to do amazing things.
Wow.
God's going to do really great things in you. You've got a lot in you. And he said that stuck with him forever.
Wow.
Yep.
We need to be those people where we're... And you know what? I've had people tell me some really crazy stories, adults that are mentally sane, and they're telling me some really crazy stuff. You know what it takes? Humbleness to go, wow, that's amazing. It could be the craziest thing.
Yeah.
Because you know what? Correcting them in that moment, that might make you feel better, but that's not going to change them. Only God can do that. You need to pray for them afterwards. Like, not to their face, but, like, pray for them.
Yeah, when you go home.
Yeah, when you go home, pray for them. But it is a sacrifice, and it's
Yeah.
a sacrifice of humbling yourself.
And I mean, there's levels of maturity with people where, okay, you know, they're getting old enough now
Right.
that, you know, this is kind of getting ridiculous. And it is time, or, you know, it's why you be led.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I was just wondering, John, because it's different with girls
Yeah.
when they're visiting, when they're with each other and stuff, and it's different with guys. And so when the guys get together and you guys are going to be visiting, talking, and hanging out, or whatever you call it, then, like what we've been saying, does that resonate the same with the guys?
You mean everything we just said tonight?
Well, I
Oh.
mean, you know, how is it when the guys get together? Like, how would you...
That's a pretty general question. Be a little more specific.
How
What do you mean?
would you approach guys? How would you come into a group of guys thinking, okay, now I'm going to be the one I'm going to encourage, I'm going to lift them up, I'm going to be genuinely interested, sincere, you know.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, you pretty much just answered it.
It's the same?
It's just different subjects usually.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So, like, when we were teenagers, I was self-conscious, you know, shy, but I wasn't shy. And I just, you know, we would go to, like, teen retreats, teen conferences, really awesome ones. And I really liked them. But then when the service was over, and John was like, let's stay, I want to talk to some people. And I'm thinking, I don't want to talk to anybody, I just want to go.
You did. You had that gift, John.
Yeah, but my focus was all about me, what I look like, if I said something stupid, you know, and that is just,
But you didn't have that.
no.
Well, I mean, yes and no. It depended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, but I want to get out of here.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's not how God wants us to live.
Right. And I have seen John, we had some younger boys throughout the years that they've been with us at church and stuff, and I've seen John encourage them and be like, wow, you know what? you're really smart. Or, wow, you're really good at that. They'll be playing video games, and they might not even be that good, but John goes, or they'll be, like, boasting about themselves, and John go, wow, you did a really good job at that. And he just encourages them. That's a sacrifice.
That is.
Encouraging people is a sacrifice, because
That
everybody's
is.
like, well, what about me?
If I encourage others and give, who's going to give it to me?
Yeah.
That is not even the question.
No.
Yeah.
And it says right here, let each regard the others as better than and superior than himself. So
Yeah.
it's not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less. Thinking of more
That's
people
good.
more.
Selfless.
Yes.
Selfless.
Selfless. Not degrading yourself. I don't like when people put on this humility and they're like, well, I'm just so stupid because you're so smart.
Yeah.
Why are you still making it about you?
Yeah.
It's not about you at all.
Yeah.
Don't even put yourself in that equation. Just praise the other person.
Yeah.
Well, to make it really, really simple. Everybody wants to feel good.
Yes.
Okay, make it really simple. And they think, if I talk about me, I'm going to feel good because I'm going to see, I want them to know about me. But actually what the Bible teaches is when you put others first, it feels like it'd be the opposite.
Yeah.
But you end up feeling even better because you sowed into them.
Yeah.
You gave into them, and it comes back. God will bless you
Yes.
when you do that.
Yep.
And every time you make that sacrifice in love, God does bless you. He blesses you so much. There's been so many times where I've made sacrifices with time. I've made sacrifices with money, sacrifices with listening, and just being around people and doing all that stuff. I know I sacrifice a day a week to meal prep for my Uncle Tim. And God has just blessed me so much out of that. We sacrifice so much when we're with kids, and we try to really endeavor, especially when we're at kids' party and gaming party, we only get them for a couple hours.
Yeah.
To make it about them.
Yes.
When I get on the bus with those kids, I'll have an adult bus monitor, so we'll be chatting all the way to the first house. Once that first kid gets on, it's all about the kids. I'm asking every kid that comes on, I ask them, it'll be like a random question of the day, and it'll kind of go to each kid that...
I know you play really cool games on
Yeah.
there.
It's fun. I didn't even know I did that. It totally had to been just a leading of God, because there was one kid, after a while I would do this, and then I would forget about it. And he would go, well, what's the random question of the day? I'm like, oh, I guess that's a thing now. So I had to come up with one. But what that does is it brings up more conversation than talk about them more.
Yeah.
It was so cute. Not this last game party because we canceled, but the game party before that, I had Dad on my bus with me. He was my bus monitor. So we're waiting
your
outside.
dad's really good at that.
Yes.
He's so good at that.
We were waiting outside for a kid, and he was taking longer. And I texted him, and we knew, so we were just sitting there. We were early. But Dad's talking with the kids, and he's talking about deer hunting, but he's bringing it into... He's asking them questions. So have you ever gone deer hunting? Oh, what about this? And then it brings on conversation. He'll tell them a story. Then he'll listen. Then he'll maybe bring that into a story, and then he'll listen.
Yeah.
It's that give and take.
Yeah.
But when you're a drain, you'll get in on the conversation and then take over.
Yeah.
Or you'll
Veer it
have
towards
to.
you, and then you'll have to outdoor. You'll have to.
You'll have to story trump every
Yeah.
time. Well, my dog
Yeah.
can do the Macarena, and my dog, and then the other person, well, my dog is running for president. Well, my dog is the Queen of England. And then you just have to keep story trumping.
Yeah.
Or you take over and then bring it into you instead.
Yeah.
I know, we've all done this. And then afterwards you're like, why? Why did I do this? So we were talking one of the nights, and it just came out that when we were at these meetings and stuff, that Stefan had to be full of faith to serve tables. Why did he have to be full of faith? Sometimes it takes all of your faith to be around people. Sometimes it takes all of your faith to love people, to look past their shortcomings, to look past the things that annoy you in life. I know there's some people will just rub you wrong, but you know what? You can use faith to get over it and be like, you know what? I still love that person.
Yeah.
There's even some people that I just pretend that they're a little kid telling me a story.
Yeah.
And if it's crazy, I don't need to correct them. I'm just going to love them through it.
Yeah.
And be like, you know what? That's okay. That's not going to hurt me.
Yeah.
That doesn't hurt me. It's between them and God.
Yeah.
If they're telling the story, whatever. But it's not going to hurt me to be wowed by them.
Another thing that we have to remember is when Satan came to Adam and Eve, to Eve, and Adam was right there, he was endeavoring to get them to look to themselves or look to another man, another human being, and not God.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Satan was doing in the wilderness with Jesus. He wanted Jesus to do it himself without God. And that's what Satan wants us to do. And we have to remember, as Christians, we can only be filled to overflowing with God.
Yes.
And so to get skilled at this, to get automated in this, to be a professional for the Lord is we spend time with him.
Yes.
We get filled with him. Our relationship with him is overflowing with our Father, with Jesus. And that is probably the number one reason why Christians have a hard time doing this, because it's already in us.
Yep.
Everything that's in Jesus flows in us. He's the vine. We're the branches. We're abiding in him. That flow just flows right into us.
Yeah.
So that compassion, that love, that loving kindness, that sincerity, all of that. And so, but we need to feed that. And we do it with the Word of God. We do it with him. So start out when you're coming to a gathering. Let's say you're coming church. You're coming to your church family. You're going to be going to work. You're going to be with family, or you're going to be with friends. Fill up with him.
Yeah.
Fill up so that when you come, you are not needing anything from a person. You can give it out. You have so much, you can't
That's
contain
so
it.
good.
And then you give it out to others. Yeah. And you'll be the most popular person there. Not
Yep.
that we're going for that.
No.
But here's the thing. It's not you.
Yeah.
He will be the most popular person there.
Yeah.
He will be that.
And it's also...
Can I just say one more thing?
Yes.
You will have an opening into their life that they have been praying for. That they
Yes.
have been longing for. They will trust you. They'll come to you and say, hey, do you have a couple minutes? Because they know you will.
Yes.
Because you've already treated them that way. And then they'll pour their heart out. And you will be able to say, well, I have the perfect answer for you. And he will never leave you, never forsake you. He is always there. And then you'll be able to tell how he did that in your life, and they will want that.
Yeah.
And so it is a huge testimony of God's love, of his listening, of how much he cares, how much he wants a relationship with these people and encourage them. Yeah.
And it's really a coming to be genuinely interested in what others have to say.
Yes.
And it's really easy to do. It's really easy.
Yeah.
So as we keep going, verse 4 says...
Jenny is on. Jenny, you
Jenny.
are so cute.
Aww.
She says, this is such a good teaching. Praise God.
Praise God.
It really is. And when Brad was teaching this, he taught on, I think it was like 5 points.
Yeah.
And he said the very last one will be the last night, and it's humility. And of course, we've listened to teaching on humility for years and years, and I thought, oh, okay, yes, I need that. I need to be more humble. I need to be more like Jesus, But it was a totally different slant. Totally different. It was amazing, amazing. And so as we talked about this, we thought, you know what? I want more on this. I want more revelation on this. And I know the body of Christ really needs this. Our church family would just be so blessed in having this. Every single one of us, our hearts long to be like him. And so if this is stirring in you, that's why.
Yeah.
And we're ready. He brings us to us because we're ready. And so we just endeavor to give place to this, respond to the Holy Spirit, respond to the Lord. And you're going to hear a lot about this for a while. And I think this is a fantastic way to start 2025.
And I love how leading up to it, one of the steps right before humility was compassion.
Wow.
And that is loving others enough to be moved to do something.
Yeah.
And love is a muscle. Everybody has the same muscles.
That's awesome.
Everybody has the same muscles. If you look at a toddler and you look at Arnold Schwarzenegger, they have the same muscles, but one has been developed. One has taken the time to work that muscle. And muscle loves to be taken to the end of itself. That's how your muscle creates little micro tears to then build itself stronger. That's that sacrificing.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's that. Ouch! This person's really hard, but this is good for me because it's gonna make you stronger.
Well, and it's going to get you trained.
Yes.
And it's going to get you to move from this place to this place. And sometimes that's hard.
Yes.
If you have a coach and you're in training, like I love to use Kellyanne because she had
so
a coach
cool.
that trained her the wrong way. And so then when she got a coach to train her the right way, not only do you learn the right way, but you've got to unlearn.
Yep.
And that sometimes is hard
Yeah.
because we're automated, we're habitual people, and God created us like that so that when we get highly skilled in this, we will be habitual in this. It doesn't matter where we are, who we're with, we're going to be like this.
Yep. And you're going to take this into everyday life.
Yeah.
And this has to be well maintained, and it takes constant maintenance to keep it nice,
Yeah.
to keep it strong, to keep it healthy, because the world is that really hard force against this, because the world's very selfish. Unsaved people, the devil, it's all very selfish and very self-consumed. But to be genuinely interested about others, that's very self-sacrificing.
Yeah.
And that can be very hard, but the more you do it, the more you get out of your comfort zone and be genuinely interested in somebody else,
Yeah.
the easier it becomes.
Yeah.
So
Your
true.
experience, I mean, I just like to use church family because we would all understand that. But your experience with your church family will be a whole nother level. It will be so amazing that when you come away from church, it's not going to be this, I just, you don't feel like you really got filled. You didn't, just a little bit disappointed or whatever. The devil won't have that in anymore because you will have purposed to be him.
And one of the main components of family, any relationship, any family, is compromise. Compromising,
Wow.
sacrificing. There's lots of times, but the more you do it, the easier it becomes. So there's a lot of times we have like 5 businesses in one little house here. There's a lot of times we're compromising a lot. Me and Kelly, we share 2 rooms, but our beds are in one room and then our clothes are in another room. She's a clean person. This is an organized mess. So there's a lot of compromising between us. And even with other people, when you're working with anybody, there's constant compromise, but that's good.
You know what that is?
It's
And
really good.
Yeah.
If you look at how God put different people together and experiences
Oh,
and
boy.
stuff, you will find out that Jesus, the 12 disciples, none of them were like him.
Nope.
None of them. And even the guys that he picked, like remember Zacchaeus? He told Zacchaeus, get out of that tree. He says, I'm coming to your house to eat. Nobody could, he was going to a tax collector's house. That was unheard of. They were sinful people. You weren't supposed to be with them. He constantly did that. What was that? If you live like that, just like those people that's not the person that I really want to talk to. That's not the person I want to be with, That will start taking those edges off.
That's that rock tumbler.
Love
that
it.
compromise is.
That is awesome.
That's that
I really
iron
like that.
sharpens iron. That ouch, that hurts. But now I'm gonna better myself and be like, okay, it's not that big of a deal,
You won't get better otherwise.
right?
Yeah.
If you constantly pick people that are just like you, you're not going to change. You're not going to get better. You're not going to. If you ask God, Lord, I just really need more patience, and He just brought you the most patient people all the time, you would never practice that.
No.
You would never have to use it. And then we wonder, Lord, why are we in these positions where this is such a hard place, or I'm treated like that in this place, it's because you need that.
Yep.
And you need to bring him into that place.
Yep. That's a weak spot.
Yeah.
That you need to grow up in that.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
It's a process with
Yes.
everything in life. You gotta start small.
Yeah.
We all didn't start out with great relationship skills.
Yeah.
That's why you grow up in a family, and you grow up in a church family, and you grow up together, because there's all that constant compromise, and that's
Yeah.
good.
Have you ever heard of how opposites attract?
Yep.
There'll be a husband and wife, and they're like opposites, and then they'll get married and stuff, and it's just, people can't even believe that they would even get married to each other, or friends, opposites. It's because we need that.
Yes.
We need that because you don't have all of everything in you. We need each other. So when God puts a church family together, it's like a puzzle. Some have the corner, some have the straight edge, some have the crooked thing, some have you're the sky, well then you're the grass, and you're what if everybody was the sky? That would really be a boring puzzle, and God does that. And so everybody needs to work together. Work together. It's just amazing. It's always interesting to see how God brings new people, and then they'll get healed, or they'll just, God sent me here. I'm so glad to be here, and I just feel so blessed and so loved, and just and then they come a few times, and then all of a sudden, you don't see them. Yep. Maybe for a year. Maybe they come back. Sometimes they don't. And there's a decision why the honeymoon's over, because it's not about you now. You have to grow.
Yep.
You have to grow up. A child gets a lot of attention. A baby, total attention.
Yep.
Total. Carried, fed, just pampered. Everything is about that baby. But you know what? When that baby gets to be 5 years old, it better not be like that anymore. Now that 5-year-old needs to have a couple things they're responsible for. Now they need to, okay, go pick up your toys. Can you hand that to me, please? Can you, yeah. Otherwise, well, that's how it is spiritually.
Yeah.
And I really believe that God is saying, it's time now. It's time now to grow to the next level.
Yeah.
And first, we're going to learn this love walk. We're going to learn this laying down your life. It says the greatest love is when someone lays their life down for somebody else.
Yeah.
That's what this is.
Yep.
Yeah. And what's so amazing is we are so greatly loved when we do that.
Yes. Yes. Well, and if we have all the love in the world, Jesus gave us so much love that now freedom. So a slave doesn't get to make choices. They are just forced to do things. You have to do this. You have to do this. You get no say. But freedom is now I have the ability to choose to do right. That's what freedom is. So when you are full of the love of God, now you have to make the sacrifice, and that's what the humility part was. So as Pastor Brad was preaching, and he said that Jesus, he humbled himself, is because he had everything, but he chose now to set that aside and to humble himself. Wow. So we choose, I have all the love, so I'm going to set this aside and now give it to others. And when you do that, you become this fountain, and you keep getting refilled, and you get fresh, and you get new. And the Christian suffering is not sickness, it's not disease, it's not living under a bridge. Christian suffering is not getting your own way. But we have found that the more you struggle, let's say you're lifting weights, and the more you're struggling, you should come to failure in that workout, you're going to gain so much more muscle than if you're just lifting the 2-pound weights and you're just going at it. You're going to learn some endurance, but you're not going to build that muscle. Arnold Schwarzenegger did not get bulky by just lifting a pink 2-pound weight. No, he's lifting stuff that it's really hard. He's struggling under that. But it makes your body say, I have to become stronger now. When we do that, it takes all the faith we have to come to the end of ourselves and be like, okay, God, help. And he does every time.
Yeah.
And that's faith, putting our faith in him to do that. And we have to become good responders. So let's say hypothetically that you're with someone you love and you're, oh, I really like this person. And you put your hand on their arm and they pull away. They're like, don't touch me. That relationship's over right there. You're going to be like, okay, they don't like me. We're done. Okay, I tried. The more you keep doing that with God, he's going to bring you people to strengthen you. And the more you're like, nope, I don't like them. The more you do that, well, God's going to be like, okay, well, that's done.
Wow.
There comes an end to that grace period where God's like, okay, it's time to grow up. But if you decide, nope, I'm just going to sit on my Humpty Dumpty and not do anything. Well, that relationship's done right there. But we have to become good responders. That when you put your arm, then you go, oh. And then you respond to that. But if you hug somebody and they just get real stiff, You just go, oops, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hug you. My grandma, she's so cute. She's like 5'2". 5-something now. So you hug her, and she'll kind of stiff arm you. She was not like the warm, fuzzy grandma that makes you cookies. She was the, now don't move when you're at grandma's house. You sit down and you be quiet because this is grandma. We loved her.
She
was
like,
great.
you hug, but she's like pushing you
Like,
away, but she's
that's
like,
as close as you get. You're like, okay. Where my other grandma was like, come on in, and you just got squished into her. And it was grandma. I loved it. That's how we need to be with God. We need to be really good responders.
Yeah.
And the more we respond well, the more he's going to give. And that escalates then.
Yeah.
So let's keep going because
Okay,
it keeps
okay.
going. So we got to read the end of verse 3 again.
Okay.
Let each regard the others as better than and superior to himself. What is that? Genuine interest in somebody else. More than your own self. Thinking more highly of one another than you do of yourself. Verse 4. Let each of you esteem and look upon and be concerned for not merely his own interests. Be like, oh, I'm only going to talk about things I'm interested in. You know what? I talk to kids about a lot of things I have no clue about. I talk to them about Fortnite. Never played the game at all. I talk to them about anime. No clue what that is. I know it's like this weird cartoon, whatever. I talk to them about so many things. Why? Because I'm interested in them. I don't care about what they're talking about. I'm interested in them, and I will just keep asking them questions about that. Not merely his own interests, but each for the interests of others. So mere means limited. When we think of just ourselves and our own interests, we limit ourselves. That's as far as you're going to go with that person. Because you're only going to think about, well, I'm not interested in that, so I don't want to hear that. And we've all done that. I've done that. Where the guys will start talking about football or something, and I'm like, well, sports I don't care about. But if I love that person, I'm going to make that the most interesting thing I've ever talked about in my whole life. I
have an embarrassing story.
Oh, no.
So I asked somebody, I don't know, at work, and I was like, so how was your weekend? And they told me what they did, and I was not listening.
Oh, no.
So 5 seconds later, I go, so how was your weekend?
Oh,
no.
And she just paused and looked at me, and I said, I just asked you that, didn't I? And so I'm like, I'm so sorry, I got distracted. So then the rest of the day, I made light of it, saying, I wish you would just tell me what you did this weekend. But don't be that person. Don't go through that. That was embarrassing. And then, so now I play like a little game in myself that I want to be the first one that asks people how their weekend or how they're doing. And if I'm not, I'm like, darn it, I lost that turn. You know? But anyway.
And you know what's even more
But making
fun?
it genuine,
Yes.
not, this is a game.
Yeah. But you can make it a game to like make it interesting. That's why they have like workout programs and they'll have like incentives for you to keep going, but then you just fall in love with the process. But you can make it a little game, be like, okay, this person told me this time, the next time I see them, I'm going to ask them about that. Because when you do that, or when you remember people's names or things like that, or you bring something up that's like an inside joke, that is the most warming and like attractive thing you could do. God loves that when we do that too. When we remind him of things he's done for us in the past, he's like, oh, you remembered that? You remembered that about me? When we remember his goodness?
That's
so,
good.
I have this in other translations because this is so good.
Ooh, I like that.
In the
Which verse?
verses 3 and 4 in the
Okay.
Passion Translation. Well, we're going to do the Message first. I
Okay.
like the Message.
Okay.
So it's verses 1 through 4. If you've gotten anything at all out of following Christ, if his love has made any difference in your life, if being in a community of the Spirit means anything to you, if you have a heart, if you care, then do me a favor. Agree with each other. Love each other. Be deep-spirited friends. Don't push your way to the front. Don't sweet-talk your way to the top. Put yourself aside and help others get ahead.
Wow.
Don't be obsessed with getting your own advantages. Forget yourself long enough to lend a helping hand.
Whoa!
Oh.
And I love that instead of pushing others to the front, you help others get to the front instead. There's so many times growing up that now it's time to delegate and give somebody else room to grow into that. And it's it can almost be really hard because you've been in that area for so long that you've become the expert in that. And now it's time for somebody new to come into that area and you're watching them struggle. But you need to wait for them to ask you. Unless they're going to harm themselves or they're going to like ruin the whole thing. Be like, okay. You need to do it this way. But you need to train them and then let them grow in that. And that can be the hardest thing, to compromise, to let it go and let them take it over.
I was telling these guys I was reading this morning a few pages of this book by Smith Wigglesworth. I think it's called Powerful Scriptures, kind of a big book. And he was talking about how we need to be like Jesus. And then he said that it's kind of a long story, so I'm not going to tell you all of it, but he was at the point where that we should be giving our testimony of how we got saved to people. But he said, when you're telling someone who's not saved, when you're telling others about how you got saved, you're telling what they need to hear to get saved.
Yeah.
You're not telling how amazing you are.
Yes.
Or how amazing your experience was, or how amazing, and you're just totally not being led of the Lord. What they need to, the whole purpose is that they get saved right now. And so if you go on this long journey and you're telling everything, I mean, you could just totally lose them. And so it reminded me of TikTok. I was telling them guys, it reminds me of TikTok, because when I first heard TikTok, I thought, wow, this is just fast. This is just, I didn't even get what they said. Now it's long. Now TikTok is
brain.
long. I remember first got a microwave. It was so fast. I was like,
It seemed fast.
Yeah, it seemed
it didn't
so
actually
fast.
change.
No, it didn't change, but it just seemed fast. And now we sit there and we go, you know what, you guys, we need 2 microwaves. What is the deal? It just is taking so long. And that's how we are right now. That's how society is right now. And so when we endeavor to do what we've been talking about, you know, to like people and to lift them up and let them be the center, you know, it's so that they're drawn closer to the Lord.
Yes.
So that they get touched by Him through us. They get touched by the compassion, the love, the, you know, and that's how, for when we give our testimony. And I just really feel like I'm lifting this up in prayer now, meditating on it, lifting up in prayer, because I want to respond the right way as pastor of the church. What do we do with this?
Yeah.
And I really believe like God really wants us in our church family to give our testimony of how we got saved as a practice. Can I do this in a TikTok way that person will be so blessed and that person will be engaged in it and will be, you know, it will inspire them, and so it's about them.
Yeah.
It's about them and watching their response and learning their response so that, and then when you feel like you're losing them, you stop.
Yeah.
And then, you know.
Well, you're fishing.
Yeah.
You're fishing. You don't throw your favorite color to the fish.
Right.
You don't throw, well, I spent all this money. It doesn't matter how much you spent on it. You got to throw what that fish wants to bite.
That's good.
And when the fish stop biting on that, you don't just go, well, it worked before. No, you switch it up.
That's good.
You got to throw what they're biting.
Yeah.
You got to find out what they're biting. And the Holy Spirit will show you what they're biting.
Yeah.
And it'll be amazing. You'll barely start to, and they'll be engaged. Why? Because it's what's relevant.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is
I heard
really
a
awesome.
communication specialist, and he teaches you how to speak well and to talk to people. And he said that you can do that same thing with people. Maybe if they're wearing like something really random, maybe they're wearing like these really fancy boots. If you ask them, wow, those are really amazing, you're giving them opportunity to show insight into them. Or you go, wow, those are really different boots. Then they can either go, oh yeah, these were the only things I had. Or they could go, oh yes, I really like these because I'm an avid hiker and I've hiked Mount Everest. That gives you whole insight into them that you can now go, here we go.
Can I say something more about that?
Yeah.
Too? They say that small talk, some people hate small talk, but small talk is just, it's testing the waters out.
Yes.
It's letting people know if you can trust them with more conversation.
Yeah.
You know, they do that in the fishing world. They call that speed fishing.
Oh.
Instead of stopping one place and really digging to get that. No, you're covering a lot of area and throwing a lot of different things to find out, get the prerequisite, what's going on here.
Huh.
And once you do that, then you start digging a little deeper. And you do that with people.
Yes.
You don't just dive in, what's personal, and you're like, and this person's like, what's your name? Do I know you? That's the wrong. You just scared that fish away.
Yeah. That is really awesome.
And you do that with kids. You find out you can be trusted. And if they tell you their game, you're not gonna go, oh, that's dumb.
Right.
They're not gonna trust you.
Right.
Yeah.
And, it's gonna take time to get that trust back.
Yeah.
And you
That's
have to ask them, especially, well, with any people, you have to ask them a little bit more specific questions than, what do you do? Where do you live? What's your favorite color? So this is what I do. So if it's kids, I'll ask them, what did you do in gym class today? Instead of asking, how was school? Good.
Yeah.
There's nothing to go off of that.
Yeah.
But you ask them, well, what'd you do in gym class? And they'll say whatever game it was. Or what'd you eat for lunch today? Then you can ask them the next question. What's your favorite lunch? Or ask them, what's your favorite game that you play at recess? Or that type of thing. It's called like threading.
That's
you find
awesome.
more conversations. And that's what you can do. You do that with people. You test the waters. I like to do this a lot where I'll compliment somebody first. If they have something like really outlandish.
Genuinely.
No, I love it. So there was one lady, she had like these bright purple glasses on, like for seeing vision. And I go, your glasses are so cute. And the adult thing that we do is we go, where we got them, how much on sale they were. And then you talk about, oh, that store is so fun. Or, oh, that is, and then you just keep going with that until you get more insight into them, and you just keep digging.
Yeah.
Till you get in there. That's another thing that people, if they see that you're friendly or not, or to open up to you, they test it by like two things, and one is warmth. Are you a warm person? So when you compliment somebody or you notice something about what they're wearing, because usually what people wear is like a outward thing of who they are. Maybe not guys, but a lot of girls.
Yeah.
Well, you have bling on, and you
do.
like the sweater colors and that type of stuff. You can ask them about that. One of the kids at the Glory and Power thing, she had these necklaces on, so I was asking her about her necklaces, and then she talked about, well, this one's from my best friend, this one's with my sister, and just asking about that.
Wow, that's
And you can
cool.
create relationship
So good.
easily.
Yeah.
And we do that same thing with God. When you ask him, you know that verse that says knock and it will be open? Well, the Amplified says keep knocking, keep asking. So it's not asking the same thing over and over again. So you ask him, what should I do? Then he's going to give you that step. Then you say, now what do I do after that? Or how would you like me to do that? You keep asking for more details about that.
Yeah.
We need to keep digging further. We can't just be like, okay, God, what do I do? Oh, by your stripes I'm healed, and then just go off.
Right.
Well, you only got step one. That's like asking for directions. They say, okay, you turn left there. Okay, and then you leave. That's only the first step. You need more directions to get where you need to go. It's the same with people.
Yeah.
You got to keep building that relationship.
That is so cool.
And it takes sacrifice and it takes time.
Yeah.
But it's always worth it.
Yeah.
And to be genuinely interested in their answers.
Yeah. Another thing that reminded me of was Smith Wigglesworth also said that in Acts, that we're endued with power from on high, so that we are a witness for Jesus. He said a witness is that exactly what we've been talking about. That's a witness because that's how Jesus was.
Yeah.
And so we're being him in the earth when we do that. I mean, he went up to people all the time. Yeah. And those were just a few things they put in there.
Yeah.
And if you notice, anytime Jesus was talking to people, he never talked about himself. You don't know what he was wearing that day, what he had for lunch, unless they asked him, well, Jesus, who fed you? And then he didn't even talk about himself. He said, well, my meat's not this. My meat is doing the Father's will. He always turned it back to the Father. It was never about him.
Yeah.
And it said that he was the most humble. He was meek and lowly. That's what he talked about himself.
Yeah.
And he thought about himself less.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So this is the plan of God. Now, the plan and call of God in our lives, sure, we're individual, but we're corporate. And so a lot of the plan of God, we all have the same parts of the plan of God.
Yeah.
And this is a huge part of the plan of God.
Yes, I believe
Huge
it.
part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That
it's
is just
learning
so
to
cool.
work well with each other.
Yeah.
And the more we do this, I love it now. I love meeting new people. I love going places. I love our gaming party and all this stuff because I just love people so much. I used to not. I used to like get anxiety and panic attacks because of people. But thank God he delivered me from that. But I just love people so much. I used to not be a people person. So you can change.
You can.
You can.
change.
God can change you. If you trust him,
Yeah.
he can change anything.
And really, what he's really doing is changing our flesh.
yes.
And he's changing our habits or our beliefs.
Yep.
He's changing those to his.
Yeah.
Because God is a people person. That's why we're all
Yes.
here.
Yeah.
Because he wants family. He loves people.
That is so
I mean,
true.
he so loves us. Every single solitary person he loves.
yeah.
But he wants us to love them.
Yes.
Yeah. Praise
Yes.
God. So excited.
Woo!
This is very exciting.
It is.
I am so excited about this.
It's
Man.
going to make such a difference in your life when
Yeah.
you practice and put this into practice.
Yeah.
It is. And it is. It's a sacrifice and it's coming out of your comfort zone, but once you kill that dead sheep, once you get rid of that and let that go, it's that dead horse. Quit dragging that around. You know what? That lie of, oh, well, I'm shy or I just don't know what to say. It's still all about you. Don't think about that anymore. Put yourself out of the way long enough to help and love somebody else.
Selfless.
That's
Yes,
it. It's
that's right.
easy.
Yeah.
Praise God.
Wow.
Well, we get to
I'm
practice
excited.
this
We
Sunday
get to
morning.
Practice. Yay. So awesome.
I love it.
I love it.
All right. We love you guys.
We love you guys.
Yeah.